we've been looking at clinical isolates a lot more, and so those seem to have changed. There seems to be an upsurge perhaps in contamination of contact lens cases by certain gram-negatives these days that we didn't see in the past. So we don't tend to get as many Pseudomonas in cases. We get more Stenotrophomonas and Delphtia bacteria, so environmental gram-negatives are coming in. And I think that's to do with perhaps changes in the multi-purpose disinfecting solutions that have happened over that course of time. There's an association between the contamination of the cases with large numbers of these gram-negatives and the production of infiltrates. So it seems to suggest that those solutions or lens solution combinations that result in contamination of the lens of the cases with large numbers, we tend to get more infiltrates. So that's presumably because toxins from the bacteria are being transferred to the lens and going on the eye, I should think, and producing that response. And so there's some literature around that from my laboratory and from others, at AMO as well, that suggests that there are better lens solution combinations or even just solutions that you can use that will basically reduce the level of contamination of the cases with those gram-negatives. And if we use those, we don't get as many infiltrates. That's certainly right. So Acanthamoeba, for example, basically lives off bacteria as a food source. And so I think if you've got higher levels of bacteria in the cases, you're more likely to get colonization subsequently with the Acanthamoeba. And of course, if you do get Acanthamoeba in a case, it's likely that will at some point perhaps get transferred to the lens again into the eye and cause Acanthamoeba keratitis, which is the worst one, of course. Very difficult to treat, takes many weeks to treat, and often overlooked because it is relatively rare. It's overlooked as the initial causative agent, and so treatment is delayed and the outcome is much worse. So basically, remove the contact lens, put it on the eye after rubbing and rinsing. Rub and rinse the contact lens case. Dry with a tissue and then air dry. So from all the modelling we've done in the laboratory and some recent clinical trials we've done on this system, it certainly reduces significantly the levels of contamination in the case. And so the hypothesis then is it'll reduce the level of infiltrates and other potential problems in the eye. So it made sure that people saw the need to rub and rinse, because that's very important to remove contamination from the contact lenses. The no-rub solutions had the potential not to remove the bacteria that were colonizing the lens and then for going on the eye. So I think that was very important. The new guidelines are looking a bit more at that, and of course have kept that in. Rubbing and rinsing is very important. I've also gone into the lens case a bit more. What should you do with this lens case? Making sure that the contact lens wearer understands that it's not just, it shouldn't just be left around. It should be treated as something that they need to look after. So those guidelines that I was talking about before, cleaning the lens case, air drying, and never reusing solutions and all that is very important. So those have been brought out again in the new guidelines, new summit, and I think that's likely to make a very substantial improvement in the health of the contact lens wearer. It was clear that if you kept a lens case for a long time, 6 months say, you had about a 5.5 times greater risk of getting microbial keratitis. From our laboratory work looking at lens case contamination, they do get contaminated, and so the more frequently you replace your lens case, the better. So I think it's very important that all manufacturers, and AMO leading the way here perhaps, need to provide a lens case and need to make clear instructions. Throw away this lens case when you get a new bottle of solution and use a new lens case.